Hello and welcome to episode 32 of the Writing Talk podcast with me, the author Michael Campling. And today, after a quick whiz through any bits of news I can think of, we will be looking at the hot topic of motivation, really, as in how do you get yourself writing and how do you keep going, keep writing. And we'll be looking at that very much in a way that is based on proper scientific research. This isn't going to be a sort of mumbo jumbo type thing. We're going to be looking at some good stuff here. And we do have a writer's toolbox to top it all off. So I hope you find some useful in this episode. Welcome to the Writing Talk podcast, the show that helps you to build your skills as we go on our writing journey together. Okay, what on earth have I been up to? Well, I'm still churning away content. I'm afraid I did miss an episode of putting the podcast out the day. I really just got to the point where wasn't able to sort of catch up with everything all at once. But I will keep, my goal is to do it every week. So really, it does all fit in with my idea of just trying to put stuff out there because it's just a really good thing to do, I think. I'll come on to that a little bit more later on in the show, funnily enough. These things all link. It all links together, folks. So what have I been doing? I've been still working away at my mystery story, and this is almost kind of a cautionary tale because it's very easy to go herring off after new things, especially if you've been working on a book or a series of books perhaps for a while. Other projects can start very exciting. As part of my strategy and general way of working of putting stuff out into the world in a way that I hope people will find useful, and I think it benefits me creatively as well to do it. I was started to do a few little bits of flash fiction and little short bits of fiction, which I was doing round about each Friday. And what did I do? But I'd rather let one of them get a hold of me. So instead of becoming isolated little flash fiction pieces that I could, put together quite quickly, it's turned into a serialized fiction, which is nice, and I'm enjoying writing it, but it is taking me away from my other work because I really want to get this thing finished now. And what I've ended up with is having two projects on the go, which isn't ideal. So I've got my main Brent Bolster book that I'm working on, and that's kind of taken a back seat while I desperately think, this won't take much longer just to finish this side project. And of course, it keeps expanding and getting bigger, and it's heading to around 20,000 words now and still not done. And really, it was meant to be, a tiny piece of flash fiction. So it's nice. There'll be, when it's all rewritten and edited and everything, I'll have a book at the end of it. But just a cautionary note there, really. Don't torpedo yourself with side projects unless you have a really good reason for doing so. And they all seem like good reasons at the time, don't they? But, try and keep some kind of focus. It's difficult in this game sometimes to keep focused on what's important, but just watch out if you are doing other content, blog posts and things. Try to keep them contained. Try and set yourself nice, manageable goals, and don't give yourself too much to do. And with that, I think we'll get on with the main topic, all about really how you get motivated and how you keep motivated and keep writing. Right, so how do we keep going at this crazy thing that we've set ourselves to do of writing novels and fiction and so on? Well, my son is at university just finishing. It's in his last year of studying a psychology degree, and he's working at this point at quite a sort of high level on research and so on. He took an extra year during his degree to get experience working with some PhD, that's some postgraduate students who are doing the research as well. So he's kind of got an extra year of experience of research in the field of psychology. And what he was specializing in that is looking at ways of modifying, I hope he's behaving, looking at ways of modifying people's behavior. Behavior modification is the phrase I was trying to say. And the project he was doing was at Plymouth University was particularly to do with looking at things like how do people get fit and change weight. And I think they were even putting together apps and things like that as a result of it. So it was all quite in detail stuff. And I couldn't help but think, well, how would that apply? Because just like any motivation to change your behavior, writing fiction is kind of a whole set of behaviors. And what could we take from that? So I had a chat with him, kind of want to get him to come on the show and have an interview, but if he's, working on a dissertation and stuff like that for his coming towards the end of his final year, so we didn't really want to distract him with that. So I quizzed him on the principles of it and tried to ask him lots of questions on your behalf, really, I hope, so that we can try and make sense of how some of these things might be applying. And it's not a gobbledygook thing. It's not a sort of, there's a lot of stuff around at the moment that's kind of well-meaning sort of mumbo jumbo. We can all put like happy little thoughts up on our wall and stuff. And I do have happy little thoughts and things around in my room. And, we could all sort of spout stuff about well-being and self-care and stuff. But this is something a bit more detailed, and it will take a bit of effort. As you can imagine, I think change and improvement always takes effort. If it's going to be worthwhile, it usually takes a bit of work, but it's not complicated. That's what I'm trying to get down to. So one of the ideas he talked about with me was the idea of pairing things together. It's a little bit hard with writing because the idea is you pair together two things so you take something that you really enjoy doing and you pair that with the activity you want to work on, and you limit yourself to only doing the enjoyable thing whilst you're doing it with the other one. Now, that immediately chimes with me because you'll hear all kinds of people saying, I listen to a certain soundtrack when I'm writing, or I listen to a certain album, or, I perhaps most of us always sit in the same place. Perhaps we, have little rituals that we've come to do. And that feeds into this idea of pairing. So it's like if you listen to, one of those tracks with which I've mentioned before, the sort of rainy mood and so on, there are things where you can listen to wind and rain and stuff. And yeah, that is part of it. You're doing a pairing thing, so long as you enjoy listening to the wind and the rain and you find it relaxing and it gets you in the right mood for writing. So it's a little bit tricky because there's not many things you can do whilst you're writing, but it could be, say, listening to a favourite set of music that you like. But what you should do to make this work is you should only listen to that piece of music when you are writing, so that you, after a time, you come to associate the two. So that's kind of how that works. So fair enough, I wouldn't normally sit around listening to wind and rain, but I do sometimes. After a little while, it can kind of get on my nerves, so it doesn't really work then. But that's something to think about. Is there something that you could pair? So it could be, I was thinking, it's not exactly simultaneous, but it could be, say you've done a sprint and you have a nice little treat that you like, a little nice bit of chocolate or something you want to eat, or a really nice, buy yourself if you like coffee, say, buy yourself a really nice blend of coffee, and only keep that for when you've done your sprints. Don't have it at any other time. So that is important. If it's something you have all the time, just whenever you feel like it, it's not really going to work. So it's got to be something that you can tie together. So that's something to think about. That's very much up to you how you apply that. Just as long as it's something enjoyable and you only have it when the writing is going well. Okay, so I think that's fairly straight. I don't think I need to explain that anymore. It could be just a favourite glass of red wine or something that you enjoy, a particularly, perhaps it's a bit more expensive and you wouldn't normally have it, but a little treat, and you think, yeah, I'll just you've got that at the end of the end of the session to look forward to. Or it could be something you listen to, in which case try not to listen to it the rest of the time. Okay, so that's the pairing part. The next bit is a little bit more involved, but it's to do with breaking down the task that you're going to do into the tiniest steps you can think of. And there's a lot of imagine. It's good for writing. There's a lot of imagining in this. You've really got to picture. So you sit down and you picture in your mind all the steps that you would have to go through to get to that point where you've done a writing session and it's sort of in the can, so to speak. So right at the beginning, so what one of the things that you might need to do is how do you get that time? So what needs to be in place to give you, half an hour or an hour, whatever it is, free? What do you need to do to get that half an hour free, say? And what are all the things that could be barriers to that? And you might need to write all this down, and it might get a bit long, but I think you probably only have to do it once. So say you go through and you think, okay, well, the dog might need walking. The kids might need their tea or something. I might need to put some laundry on. All the little things that you need to do that could get in the way. So you write all those down and say, okay, well, how am I going to make sure that doesn't get in the way? So how can I do it? So, okay, well, I walk the dog earlier in the day or, whatever it is. Just get it organised so it happens before or afterwards or something like that. So you've got the time. And even picture yourself sitting in the chair, turning the computer on. Each tiny little thing, do you have a desk or something or a table or surface where you can work? Will that have to be cleared before? So each step that you would have to go through, think what could be the barriers. So right through sitting down in the chair. Well, what if the chair you normally use is sometimes used by somebody else, or it's got stuff dumped on it, or perhaps you sort of chuck laundry on it or something. What if somebody else could be using the computer or the laptop, or somebody else is using the table or the room, or there's a noise from another room, there's a TV, there's some music playing, there's all the little steps to go through. So you've got the time, you sit down, you've got your computer on, so you're opening your editing program. Say, are you going to be able to find the thing you were working on? Is it jumbled? Is it lost somewhere? Is it yeah, is the program working? Is it reliable? Are you going to be able to actually just sit down and use it? Does the keyboard work? So you picture through the process, write it all down. What could go wrong? What could be the barriers to each tiny step? Think of as many sort of in a very thorough and very honest way, as many little steps as you can, and say, okay, what would be those barriers and what can I do about them? How can I overcome those barriers so that if they happen, and maybe they don't that day, maybe everything goes smoothly, but if they do happen, you already have a sort of mental checklist where you can say, well, if that happens, I'll just do this. And then you go into fixing that problem. Or by thinking it through, in advance, you actually have that ritual set up and you don't need to overcome that barrier. It doesn't arise. You've already dealt with it because you've thought of it beforehand. You see what I mean? So I think that could be very good. So I think it's a very simple kind of process. All you really need is a pen and a bit of paper and go through and say what, be honest, be very true to yourself and think, what do I need? What could get in the way? What can I do about it to overcome it? And obviously we'll all have our own different lists, but it's certainly worth a go, I think. Very simple, cost zero, just a little bit of time. And maybe it's something you could review from time to time, but yeah, create that space for it to work by thinking about what could go wrong. To be forewarned is to be forearmed. Or as I like to say, is to be forearmed is to need two pairs of gloves. Sorry, I messed up my own crap joke. Anyway, so I hope that kind of makes sense to you. It's very simple, really. As I say, there's no gobbledygook in it, but it is based on sound psychological principles. So that these guys were doing a big research project, and they were taking people who really wanted to do something particularly about their weight, I believe. And so they had real people coming in, and they talked through them, and they did all this, and they did a lot of visualizing it. So it's partly when you sit down, we don't often sit down and take the time to visualize what we are going to do. really, really visualize it. I mean, maybe shut your eyes or something and think, picture yourself going through those steps. Imagine all the sights and sounds and smells and everything going on, and what is needed for each step to be a success. What could stop it happening, and what can you do about it to just deal with it straight away? So I hope that kind of helps. It will all be different for each of us, but I hope it's a strategy perhaps you can tackle, especially if you really want to get this writing thing off the ground, but things keep getting in the way. If you just let it lie, so you're kind of firefighting the situation all the time, you're going to end up frustrated, and you're going to be thinking, oh God, what am I going to do about this? Every time I try to get going, something goes wrong, or perhaps you think, oh, I just give up, and that's no good. That is very much the opposite of what we're about in this show. So I hope that kind of makes sense to you. Okay, be really thorough, be really honest, just write it all down, see what you can do about it. The final prong in this kind of three-pronged attack, so you imagine pairing activities, imagine breaking it down into steps, beating the barriers. The third one is really, really sitting down and imagining what you will feel like when you have that success. Imagine everything about the success. Now, what your success might be is going to be different for all of us. So it could be that you finish a book. It could be that you just want to get through a short story, whatever it is you're really trying to nail at the moment. Sit down, shut your eyes, maybe think about exactly what that's going to be like, and try and experience it in your imagination. So think about the sights, the sounds, the smells, everything. What one moment I love is I don't always get around to doing paperbacks for my books, but when I do, it's really quite exciting when they arrive and you get all the formatting and everything done. And just thinking about, you would think, well, what's he on about, all senses? But I mean, I hope that came out okay. That's just me flipping through the latest G for Gravity paperback that came. And, the cover has a distinctive smell. The paper has a distinctive smell when it's come off the printing. I always, I like to sort of, stand there. I've got the Amazon package in my hand. And I sort of pull off the little ribbon, which makes its own little tearing noise, and then unwrap it, see if they've come out, see if the cover, because I make my own covers as well, so see, which is not a terribly good idea, but I do, and see if it's come out, see if the colours have come out nicely. I hope they have. See if all the formatting and everything has come out correctly, and it's really quite nice, just that opening it and looking and seeing your words in black and white on the page. And I always get the very first one of each book and just sign the front one, just put the date on it, write first copy on it, pop it on the shelf. That's something I just really like to do. So that is quite an emotional situation that I can imagine and really picture. And if you can conjure that up for yourself, it really gives you something quite motivational to think about and to aim for. Imagine yourself in that situation where you've written the thing you want to read. Written the thing that you really want to, well, I hope you want to read it, but you've written the thing that you really want to write, and you get that feeling of success. As I say, it might not be a whole book. It might just be a shorter thing, or perhaps it might be a huge, epic series that you want to complete. I don't know. But imagine that sensation where you can actually sit down and say, done it, nailed it, it's done, completely, finished all the edits and rewrites that I want to do. It's as good as I'm going to get it, and it's ready. So that's really all I've got for you on that. I think I probably not done as great a job as describing it as if I'd had being able to interview somebody about it. But as I say, I try to interview my son about it as much as I could on your behalf, and I hope I've come out with something that actually makes sense. And these principles do really work. And I believe there is even an app somewhere which you can use to help try and reach your goals. So I'm going to have to look up that for you, and I'll try and put it into the into the show notes if I can find it later. The show notes, of course, will be at writingtalkpodcast.com. I'm going to be fairly brief this time because it's just a few bullet points, really. And sometimes I have time to write up a whole screed of things, and sometimes I just don't. So I think better to get it done with the brief show notes and get it out there. And with that, I think I will press on to the Writer's Toolbox. Okay, so in the Writer's Toolbox, I've got a couple of things for you, and I said it would tie in, and they kind of do, because I mentioned that producing content, doing things like podcasts, like blog posts, and just creating all these different kinds of content is its own kind of reward in many ways. And it kind of fits in, or there's somebody who fits in very much and kind of helped to promote this idea is Austin Kleon, who I'm sure you've possibly heard of, New York Times bestselling author, it says here. And I know I've been aware of him for quite a while, and I've noticed that some of his books recently seem to be on sale. I know in the UK and in the USA. So one of my Writer's Toolbox things is a little book called Show Your Work. Mine arrived the other day. It's I went for the paperback one because in the sale price it was about the same price as the Kindle book. I can't remember how much it was, but it's worth having a look just in case it is on sale still. I really like that so far from what I've seen of Show Your Work. And I think it was also reduced as well. I've actually got a copy of the Steal Like an Artist journal. So he's got several little books of Show Your Work, Steal Like an Artist, and I think his latest one is called Keep Going, funnily enough, which I haven't looked at. But the Steal Like an Artist journal is a really nice little thing. Again, you get that as a paperback. I don't know if it would make, no, I don't think it's available as an ebook. It wouldn't make sense. And it has lots of pages in there with all kinds of little places for you to do your own doodles and things. And the idea is you take it around with you everywhere you go, and you write in it every day. Just write something in there, and it's to get you kind of journaling and opening up really, and freeing yourself up creatively. It's that kind of little exercise to sort of blow the cobwebs off your creative mind. And I really like getting this journal. It's I mean, I guess you could you buy a blank journal a bit cheaper and just do what you want, but sometimes you need a push to get you started on that route. And so there are things in there like just 10 things I want to learn, or there's a page full of triangles and it says write your own captions under each one, and then there's a page full of circles, and it's things like that. But it took me back, opening the journal took me back to a feeling that I can remember having when I was very, very young. And I think I'd talk about always wanting to be a writer, but one of my prized possessions when I was very small and could just about write my name was an exercise book, a little exercise book that I guess my mum or dad must have bought and given me at home. And I just thought it was the most wonderful thing ever. And I just really wanted, it's one of those things where your ambition overleaps what you can do, because I wanted to write all these stories, like you had heard people reading stories and things to me, and I really wanted to make my own. And I thought I could fill this book with these stories. And it was a real magical moment, just like writing my name very carefully, which takes you ages when you're young, doesn't it? And just writing your name very carefully on the cover, and just couldn't wait to fill it. And I kind of felt a bit like that with this, all these years later. I just kind of got excited about a blank book. And I think it's partly because it's a special thing. It's almost like a treat to myself to say this is my little special book where I can enjoy playing around creatively with it and just having a bit of fun. So I'm looking forward to filling that in, and I'll try and put a few little snapshots of what I've done in it, possibly on my blog, which is mikeycampling.com, and I'll maybe on Instagram and things like that, which you can find via my site there. And I'll feed back to you later on in another episode, perhaps, how it's working. But I certainly think the Steal Like an Artist journal is a good little tool, because it just enables you to regain a bit of fun and a bit of joy out of creating something just for the sake of it, and just because it's great, and it's just great to create things. Okay, well, I hope that has helped you a little bit this week in the ideas of pairing up your enjoyable activities with your writing, looking at all the different step-by-step barriers you might have to overcome, and getting mentally prepared to bash them down each time you come up against them, and really imagining your success and what it is going to feel like when you have that success. I hope that will help to keep you writing, keep tapping the keys, keep scribbling away, and while you're doing it, keep smiling. So thank you very much for listening, and goodbye.